Good morning and welcome to SanAntonio Fancast, the Saturday morning show. This is part one. We actually might go through and relabel this. Yesterday I had the opportunity to sit down or do a show with Tyler from Crane Kicks Lex, which is what we're going to show for you here momentarily. The interview we thought was going to be about 10-15 minutes and ended up going about 26 minutes. So we'll go with the Ed and play this, and then later on, probably about hour and a half from this recording here, we'll do the SanAntonio side of the Saturday morning preview show with Lexington here. Going forward, we may do kind of, if I have the opportunity or if anybody on the team has the opportunity to do these shows where we can sit down and kind of preview the opposition for SanAntonio FC. We'll definitely do that. The interview, I won't lie to you, is probably pretty tough. First time I've really kind of done this. I'll have to polish up my intro and stuff since we're going to go this avenue here. But please enjoy, and thank you to Tyler from Crane Kicks Lex. Like I said here, awesome guy. And like I said here, if you do get an opportunity to go to Lexington, definitely reach out to him, as he does seems like a pretty cool guy. So let me get started here. And good morning, because this is going to be Saturday morning, SAFC Fancast in the morning here. I'm joined by Tyler from Crane Kicks Lex, who has a YouTube show and on podcasts, Apple, Google, and Spotify. He may be able to tell me that there's others, but those are the ones that when I went to their website said, hey, this is where they go to. So like I said here, but Tyler, welcome. I will say my favorite from your last episode was KP saying SanAntonio and Lexington, the classic elite teams from the West. I think that might be the first time I've ever heard. Well, first time that Lexington's probably ever been considered in the West, let alone being part of the elite teams in the West.
Yeah.
But welcome. Thank you for doing this. This is our first time doing this. We've started breaking up our shows Saturday morning. We've had a lot of positive feedback. We're on game day, just kind of having a quick 30-minute show, kind of going over. I was trying to guesstimate on our opponents, but I know you're pretty active, and I followed you for a while, and even when you guys were in League One, we've interacted mainly on my old account before it got hacked, lost, whatever, through the Twitter files for that here. But welcome, sir.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. It's really awesome to be here. It's cool. It feels like a long time coming for us to finally be in a situation to play SanAntonio. And I know we might mention this later, but with our weird exchange program happening between
SanAntonio
players
North.
and coaches. Yeah, we're like the direct pipeline. So it kind of feels like destiny now that we're finally here.
So, but to me, like I said here, if you guys do get a chance, Crane Kicks Lex, please check it out. YouTube, Spotify does the video as well. I always like the videos because you get the facial interactions that you don't necessarily get on the podcast version. For that here, where if somebody says something silly, we get the Jonathan Check look on our show here. We're like, really? That's what you're going to say? So, but to kind of get started here, I'll toss the softball. I don't know many fans that are traveling up to Lexington this early with kids just after spring break here. But what is game day like at Lexington SC Stadium?
Yeah, so honestly, it's still kind of evolving. Us being in our new stadium, still pretty fresh because it was the end of last season. Of course, when weather was already starting to get a little chilly and everything, and now it's just now starting to warm up. So I think we've yet to see like the full and final form of our game day experience with warm weather. But already in our most recent matches, there's been lots of tailgating. There's like the general lot out front, but then if you go further back towards the youth fields, there's a huge tailgate lot and it's super active. There are tons of people gathered, hanging out, eating food, drinking drinks, all the above. And, even rival fans, like last match, we had a bunch of Indy 11 fans out there as well. So it's a really good time before the match. Getting into the stadium, course, there's plenty to do, especially if you're a Lexington fan. But we've got a really nice merch shop that opened towards the end of last season, and it's amazing. It's cool. It's got giant TVs in there, and they're always either
Oh,
playing
nice.
Premier League matches or they're playing replays of past LSC matches. We got a brand new mini pitch there right outside of the merch shop, which is cool. They've been bringing in food trucks. We've got tons of concessions. We've got West Six Brewery out there, which is our official like beer partner. They're the ones that produce our team beer,
Oh, nice.
and so they're everywhere in the stadium too. It's really neat, and the way our stadium is lined up and the way that they've set up the area. There's sections where it's really easy to meet with other fans, interact as soon as you get in the gates. So far, I think that it's really good. I think that we're still going to evolve and we're going to see some more things coming as they refine the process in the stadium, as more and more fans kind of start interacting with one another and
Mhm.
things organically develop. But game day, to me, especially the lead up, is a blast. And it's a really great opportunity for people to just interact and kind of build that energy.
I know I didn't talk about this pre-match here, but I'd be remiss to miss. Lexington is one of the teams that does have a men's and women's team.
Yeah.
For that here, it's something that we're begging for SAFC SanAntonio to get is a women's team, whether it's in the W League
Mhm.
or the Super League. For that here, game day for the women, kind of very similar or a little bit different vibe.
That is definitely in the development stages. I hate to say it, but our women's team has not quite kicked off in popularity to the level of our men's team just yet. It. I'd say
Takes time,
honestly,
yeah.
yeah. While we've had some success in the past with our crowd and everything for the men's team, this season feels like the first season where we kind of have a consistent crowd
Mm-hmm.
of notable account. I feel like it's grown to a point where we can say, oh, yeah, our stadium is reasonably full. The women's team, not quite there yet, although, to be fair, they've kind of had a little bit of a short end of the stick. It seems like every time they have a match, it's storming and horrible weather and cold. Or like the last match for the women this past Sunday, there was actually UK women's basketball and UK men's basketball going on
Oh
during the
no!
match, which anybody familiar with Lexington, UK reigns supreme in the
Even if
city.
I'm not familiar with Lexington,
Yeah, it's UK is just it's basically a religion out here, man. So it's really really tough to find that footing, which I think we're starting to. And I think obviously, with the men experiencing a lot more success and drawing bigger crowds, that's going to bleed over to our women's team. And we'll kind of see where that goes. But I have high hopes. I think they're fun to watch, even though some of our matches haven't really gone our way. It's still a great time.
as far and I know this is kind of off topic here, but
Yeah,
to me, it's something I'm interested in going to more of that
yeah,
FIFA calendar, and I know the Super League with the women's team are doing that. I know during the summer it's going to be kind of nice where you guys have probably a game every week for that here, maybe some midweek games there. Um, how was the well, we're still in late March, but how was the winter transition for if you are able to make out to a game? I know you mentioned the storms and stuff.
yeah,
You think that's something that as a league level that it's going to cause some ownership to pause. Being in San Antonio, when it gets below 60, we're like, hey, it's cold. I know up in Lexington, that's a different story.
yeah.
But like I said here, just kind of your thoughts on the schedule for for the ladies.
I think the weather is definitely a challenge in my opinion, because not only would we have like rainy games, it would be freezing and
Mm-hmm.
rainy, or like we'd have ice storms randomly. And luckily, a lot of those kind of tapered off by the time the season kicked off, and we had some away games to kind of kick back into the second half of the season. I mean, me personally, I think it's going to be a challenge to get new fans to want to come to that
Right.
middle section of the season when you're anywhere Lexington or above, because it convincing people to say, "Hey, come have a great time at this thing you've never experienced in your life," and they're like, "Okay, yeah." What's the weather like? And you're like, "Well, it's going to be like 35 and raining." It's it's a little bit of a tough sell. So I see what they're trying to do, and it makes sense in a lot of ways. I do think it's going to cause a even greater uphill battle,
Mhm.
because for me, I feel like there were more fans during the nice weather, obviously, but maybe they didn't really like latch on enough to become one of those sickos that's
season
like, I'm going to
tickets.
sit through the rain. It'll be interesting how year 2 does though, because it's still a building process. I don't think the weather is doing many favors though.
Yeah. So I do have to talk just because USL came out with an announcement. I guess it's been about a couple of weeks ago, 10 days ago.
Yeah.
Well, they've actually came out with a couple announcements. Lexington SC Stadium right now seats 7,500,
Hmm.
which is, I think, Toyota Field's about 8,200. However, Toyota Field's able to be expanded. It's not a modular stadium, but it has the framework to expand. I think ours can expand, I think, up to 18. But when I
Yeah.
was doing some research on Lexington, it said it has the ability to expand to 11,000. Not asking for any specific reason, obviously, but do you
Right.
think they can get another 4,000 squeezed into there somehow?
That's something that I'm real curious about because it does feel the structure of our stadium is really nice, but at the same time, it has that vibe and that look to it. Like it wouldn't be the biggest undertaking in the world to kind of tear some things apart and reconfigure and add to raise, the levels, add some extra seating going vertically. So I think that it could be possible, but I'm not sure because I've heard everything you have about 11,000 being the eventual cap if we expanded. But money talks. If you want something bad enough and you put enough money into it, you could probably make just about anything happen. So I imagine if that's the goal to say if you plan on being promoted at all, you got to make that 15,000 happen. I feel like our owners are the type that would make that happen whatever way they could.
And I do think that U.S. soccer will have some flexibility when it comes to that personally, but of
Right.
course, that's not something that we have here. I know we kind of talked about it earlier, but I'd be remiss not to mention the SanAntonio feel of Lexington. Throughout your history, you've had Darren Powell, which was our first coach, I think
Yep.
for 6 years, who recently moved this off season, he moved to the front office and then has eventually moved on to be the academy director for Nashville FC. And Darren
Hmm.
Powell's one of the great guys for that here. Nice guy for
Yeah.
that here. So um, last year, I believe you guys had David Larrera and Lacey. What was his name? First name?
Yeah. Cameron Lacey.
Cameron Lacey
Yeah.
and Diouf, right? Tus Diouf, who's currently on. You guys have him, but he's on loan at Detroit City, which is a little bit interesting. And and then currently you have Marcus Epps, Kendall
Hmm.
Burks, who last year was with SAFC. I was the president of the Kendall Burks fan club on our podcast.
Yeah.
There were other people that did not, rate him as high. I thought he did well. And then Sofiane Dajal, who came in kind of odd year last year. We started out at Orange County, had some success, then was released, signed with us. Had some minutes, but kind of struggled getting regular minutes, and then has landed. And I think he's been the starter for you guys for all 3 games for you for that year, if
Yeah.
my memory's correct. So excited to see what he can do for that here. But just kind of your thoughts on the the SanAntonio to Lexington connection here. That's been throughout the history of Lexington.
I think it's hilarious, actually. You look at just the sheer number of people that we pull from San Antonio. It's in the Lexington community. I mean, as far as the people that are active online and like in the Crane Kicks Lex Discord and stuff, we're constantly looking and trying to figure out what player is going to come next. Whenever like there's any hint of somebody coming, and I know a lot of people are like, "All right, who's San Antonio got that might be coming this way?" It always seems to come up, so it's funny. And it's been good though because I feel like a lot of the people that we've brought in have
Or
made an
quality.
impact in their
Mhm.
own way. We didn't see a lot of David Loera last year because of injury and everything, but Ates has become a club legend. A lot of Lexington fans were super upset to see him not be with the team. I mean, he's with the team, like you said, but he's
But he's
not
not.
just
And he went
because.
to a rival.
Yeah,
And I know
it,
Detroit's in the East, but to me, Lexington and Detroit, because hopefully, no offense to Lexington fans,
Yeah.
Hopefully, you guys aren't in the West long period, just because
Yeah.
I know it sucks for us
We hope that
having
too.
9 o'clock kickoff games, which is what 10 o'clock or 10:30 games, for you
Yeah.
guys. So the occasional one's fine, but every other week or along
It's
those
tough.
lines here is not fun.
It's
Or
tricky, man.
and especially if it's on CBS Golazo like this game is, you can't
Mhm.
watch the replay until a week later. So
Yeah. It's not ideal.
that's something. But hey, we get recognition. But um, so moving into the match here. Let me see if I can get this queued up right here. So the starting lineup that you guys have ran out: Corey Burke up
Mhm.
top. Although he started the last game, but I don't believe he started all the games here.
No, he was
Um,
a little bit later addition for us.
but he is high quality for
Oh,
that here.
yeah.
I know the USL social media was like, "Wow, that was a good pull for Lexington." Epps, Jack Beer, Nick Firmino, Safane Defal, Speedy Williams, Joe Hafferty, although he got subbed out, so depending on what his injury status is, he's been in the lineup. I haven't seen anything, and when I asked you, you were unsure about
Yeah.
his status and then what they do with it. Kendall Burks, go Kendall Burks. Hopefully you have a good game, but not score for that here. Danny Barbiel and Kerrion Sargent. And then uh, the old nemesis, Logan Ketterer, in the goal here that we've had some experiences. I think he was with El Paso, right? If memory serves me right. Yeah,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
El Paso back in the day. So um, quality goalkeeper, quality lineup. Your thoughts on kind of how they match up, just from a Lexington view, and then of course Royce will come in with the SanAntonio view, after tomorrow morning here, but or this morning when you're listening. Your thoughts on how Lexington faces, and do you anticipate any changes outside of maybe Hafferty, which is still TBD?
Yeah, I mean, looking at this lineup, I think that it's fairly safe to say that we probably won't see Joe Hafferty out there. I mean, he might, but considering it was just a week ago that he had the type of injury he had, I would imagine concussion protocol is still in play. If anybody missed it, absolutely took just a brutal head injury from head to head contact, busted his eyebrow open, blacked his eye. There's blood everywhere. So it's possible that he makes a miraculous comeback, but I seriously doubt it. So we might have to see some type of change there. In my mind, you look at people like Gael Jabert, who's been playing for us as a sub periodically, or you might think of, Lucas Stoffer, who also played in the Open Cup, had a great game, had a goal. We have a lot of players that can kind of fill into that defensive line, so it's a little bit of a question mark as to who exactly is going to be the guy, if that is the case that he's not in the lineup. But I feel pretty confident in just about anybody that we put there based on what I've seen when they've either subbed in or played in USOC for us. So we'll see. As far as other changes, this kind of feels like our standard issue thing. So barring any type of injury or circumstance that comes up outside of that, I feel like it's pretty safe to say that what you had on the screen is what you're going to see, with that question mark for Joe Hafferty, of course. But going against you all, I think is going to be another really good test for us. I mean, this is all fresh and new for us. So every game this season, I feel like has an extra layer of excitement because it's not just like, oh yeah, we played them before, or oh yeah, like this is kind of how it went last time. Now it's like, well, we really don't know what's going to happen and how this is all going to play out. I feel like we've done a really good job of establishing an identity this year,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is something we struggled with last year. I feel like we didn't really know who we were, how we wanted to play, whose role was what. And this year it's very much defined. And I feel like, Coach Boss has done a great job of saying, we're going to go get people of high quality, and then we're going to get their like for like counterpart. Um, when you think about the term of like super sub, I feel like we have a stable of super subs, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm being a homer in saying that. I feel like they've really shown like there is no real drop off when we do a swap. I mean, you think about things like Elliot Goldthorpe, who we have, or Braudilio Rodriguez. Either one of them comes in late, and we feel like the momentum actually picks up for us as those tired legs are swapped out, and we really don't have much of a drop off. So it's nice to see us have that level of aggressive play that we've decided is going to be who we are at our core. But then still have that ability to say, we're not necessarily going to make this a shootout. We can handle our business on the
Mm-hmm.
defensive side as well.
Yeah, and you guys I'll admit. Well, I've already admitted that I didn't think you guys were going to do very well. I think I've picked against you guys in every week. And
Sure.
obviously this week
That's
I'll be
fair.
picking against you for
That's
obvious
fair.
reasons.
Yeah.
Just like I have a feeling you're like, hey, either a draw, probably best case scenario, if not a Lexington win
Yeah.
at home. But the final question here, the player for San Antonio FC to look out for, or players that you think that our fans should be on the lookout for from Lexington as kind of a key to the match.
Ooh, that's a tough one because we have a lot of really good, impactful players that each week,
Mm-hmm.
our team doesn't do a player of the match. Actually, the Crane
Oh
Kicks Lex
wow!
crew, we do player of the match. We run polls and then we end up recognizing those players. So myself, Dylan, Kyle, and Jessica, who also do it with me,
Mm-hmm.
we all like throw out our four, and then we take majority rules out of that, and we put those players up. And man, here lately, we've had a tough time choosing because filling out those four and actually narrowing it down to just four has been a
It's
challenge.
tough, yeah.
If I personally had to say, I actually I'm going to cheat a little bit and give you a pair of players that I think
That's fine.
just can't be discounted. Kieran Sargent and Marcus Epps. They are absolutely brutal on the wings. It feels like Kieran Sargent's engine is limitless, and he is just going box to box constantly and flinging in crosses like nothing else. So super dangerous player, can play defense like nothing else. Marcus Epps, he's also a very good two-way player. Some games he's featured more defensively and just kind of been like that lockdown guy that makes sure that we get
Mm-hmm.
the ball back and get it back into play so that way we can do something with it. Last match, he did an amazing job of being a little bit more offensive and then getting into the box and sending in crosses and shots. That pair right there. I feel like if you're a San Antonio fan, you probably don't want them to have the ball, in my opinion.
Well, we know Epps, and like I said here, we loved Epps. I think he was only here a year before he moved on, which we were kind
Yeah.
of disappointed in. But like I said here, we like him. Um, that's the questions that I had here. Any
Yeah.
questions that you have for me? Like I said, I know this is more, kind of a San
Yeah.
Antonio preview, but any questions you have for me before we let you get out and enjoy your Friday evening?
Yeah. I'm sure that some Lexington fans will tune in. I guarantee it. So, who would you say that we need to watch out for?
Well, Jorge's the obvious one.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Jake LaCava. He's
Okay.
he's done really, really well. I don't think he's broke out yet.
Right.
And then I just think our back line with Jimmy Madrondra is probably very similar to Sargent, where he goes up and down, and you're like, he's 30. I think he's 30, 31, and I'm like, dude, how do you still have those wheels to do that?
Right.
Well, he played in the MLS, so he's got talent, but.
For sure.
But and then of course you got Mitch Tainer and Cronelli that locks down the center. Um,
Yeah.
but to me, like Jake LaCava, like he's the one that I keep waiting to kind of have that bust out, and you can just kind of see where he's on that fringe. He's a lot healthier this year than he was last year. Seems
Right.
kind of like what you mentioned with the coaching change from last year. And we had one as well with Lamosa. He's kind of knows his role and it fits
Hmm.
him a little bit more. It'll be interesting to see if Alex Grieve or Juan Agudelo starts. I think Greaves is a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
Agudelo, though, the pedigree, former U.S. men's national team. My co-host on here, Royce, is the president of the Juan Agudelo fan club because some
Yeah.
of us rib him because I'm like, dude, he's old. If he came on it, for the last 30 minutes, sure, but for
Right.
90, I don't know if he's got it in him. But no, to me, like I said here, like San Antonio's built on defense, and I think that's why we've only gave up one goal, and the goal itself was a bike, but it was off of an error that we gave up the corner on. But we defensively we've been solid, but I don't know if you followed Richard Sanchez's career.
Hmm.
If you look at his numbers, they're not great. So I'm all like,
Yeah.
is he really a number one? But he's
Right.
got a hell of a defense in front of him. But to me, he's really yet to be tested, and that's why to me the guy I'm looking at is Corey Burke, because he has that MLS talent. He has a
Yeah.
top tier, especially for USL Championship. If
Yeah.
if he's able to break down the back line, um, can he get by Richard? And Richard's done a really good job. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Like I said here, 3 games, only 1 goal, and I don't think anybody was stopping that bike for that here. But well, should be fun one.
That,
Uh,
yeah, it definitely will. And I agree. I think
wish
that'll be an interesting battle with Corey Burke now having basically a game and a half under his belt to kind of get into the flow of things
the
for us. So
fitness, yeah.
you never know. It might be interesting.
This is one of those games that I could see being 0-0 because
Mm,
Lexington is very strong defensively as well.
sure.
But it's one of those games where I think that each side offensively has the talent to bust it out,
It's true.
and make it a lot more interesting. But Tyler, always a pleasure interacting with you on social
Same.
media. If you want to tell them where they can follow you at, and kind of information for Crane Kicks Lex again one more time, and then we'll let you get out of here.
Yeah, absolutely. All socials, we're on there at Crane Kicks Lex. We have a podcast. We're on YouTube at Crane Kicks Lex. So it's all there. It's all standard. It's easy to find us. Um, Google it and it pops up. So it's a unique enough name. That's why I chose it. So we're out there, and we really love interacting with fans, and us taking our dive into the championship and kind of acclimating ourselves with everybody out there. It's been really fun interacting with fellow content creators and
Mhm.
fans of these new sides that we're facing against, and seeing what happens in these first matchups. So,
Just wait
yeah,
till matchups 2, 3, and 4, and then you'll be like, not
yeah,
as friendly.
yeah. You're like, never mind. I don't want this
Harry's
anymore.
Harry's blocked for that
Yeah,
here, but no, was a pleasure talking with you. And like I said, here we'll have to do this again. And like I said here,
for sure.
um, for San Antonio fans and Lexington fans, whether it's our shows, or any USL content shows that you follow on either YouTube or the podcast of your choice, please make sure you like. Please make sure you give ratings if possible. It helps all of us out, helps us build the USL network, and this goes both for Championship League One, Super League, the W League, and League Two. There's even a few League Two teams that have shows here. So if you are able to find it, if you do enjoy it, make a quick note, just say hello, along those lines, or hello from San Antonio, like what I do a lot of times, and it goes a long ways to help put the show in the feed a little bit more. But
Yeah,
thank you,
for
Tyler.
sure.
I'm gonna go ahead and hit end. And do want to thank Tyler from Crane Kicks Lex for the interview. Was a fun conversation. Looking forward to tonight's game. Probably about an hour or so, hour and a half. Royce and I will hop back on. But what's life without goals? We are out.